Hello friends, it's day 7 of staying consistent in the midst of chaos. So far, a decent day, executing the routine well, and there are no major obstacles to face, at least not today. I said in one of the previous videos, maybe it was the last one, that I want to share my writing process with you. Well, I will not be giving you a full writing masterclass, because there are so many different things to say, and also there are major differences between long form writing and short form writing, and I do both. So this time I want to focus on one specific component and maybe the most important aspect of my writing process. Why I share this in the context of consistency? Well, unfortunately, I understand that it will not be relevant for everyone watching this, but I do believe that writing is one of the highest leverage skills that you can learn. I cannot imagine, especially now in the digital age, in the age when putting yourself out there has so many different benefits, in the age where so many opportunities are opening to us, I cannot imagine a scenario where learning to write well doesn't immensely improve the quality of your life and the number of opportunities that you face or get. Maybe some of you are thinking, but now we have AI and AI is writing better than all of us, or can write better than all of us. Can AI tell your story? That's a whole another topic. But I will not, as much as there are aspects of AI that I despise with deep passion, despise what they are doing and will be doing to human creativity. As much as that's the case, I will not now disregard the fact that it can be used, and maybe on some levels it should be used to help with parts of your writing. But now let's get back to the human activity of writing. This specific framework or method, I'm not sure how to call it, can help all of you, and especially with medium form, long form writing. So it doesn't matter if you want to tell your story, or you want to share an idea that you've been learning about, thinking about. This can help you immensely. Kind of to take a couple of steps back and to say I acknowledge the value, beauty, and sometimes the necessity of free flow writing. So I will divide my long form writing into two different categories. There are moments where I have one sentence, one clear statement, one maybe feeling, one mood that comes up, and I don't want to work on the structure. I just want to sit down and start writing, and it flows. I will not claim that it's the best quality of writing, but it makes sense to be written in that way, where I sit down and I have just an opening statement, and I just start writing. There is one example that comes to my mind. Back in 2022, when I just started writing on Substack, there was a piece that I wrote. I was on the subway and I saw a lady that had such deep pain and exhaustion in her eyes, and it touched me in a way. And it started a whole train of thought for me regarding hope, despair. And I remember getting off the train, sitting down right away, even on my phone. I didn't wait to reach my laptop because I needed to get this out. And I think the initial statement was, "You're not broken," or something like that. And I just wrote sentence by sentence as they were coming up. Yes, later I edited, of course, but it was free-flowing without preparing a structure in advance. Well, that's creative writing that I encourage all of you to try, to just let the words flow. but let's put it aside for a moment, because in the context of consistency, what a lot of people struggle with when they want to start writing is the fact that writing is difficult, and it can be overwhelming and it can be confusing. And we cannot count on this type of inspiration that allows you to just start with one idea, one mood, one feeling, and just let the words flow and complete a whole writing piece like that. We cannot count on it. We cannot count on it. So we, more often than not, need to prepare the structure for what we are writing about. And that's the method that I want to share with you. This is how it would look. I have an opening statement. And maybe a good example is, let's do it. I'm going to use an example of what I've been writing for the past couple of days and what I'm going to publish on Substack, and also make a YouTube video out of it. So this is kind of, it's funny that I'm making a video about writing what is going to be a script for another YouTube video. But it's about why you struggle to get out of bed from a Jungian perspective. So Jungian psychology, Jungian psychology perspective on why you struggle to get out of bed. So I will be using this example to explain this method rather than give you kind of abstract idea, not abstract, but give you an idea and then give you an example. So first we want some kind of statement, because if you have an idea that you want to write about, there should exist a statement. That statement can be a working title, so you're not now deciding on what definitely the title is going to be, but that statement can also work as the title. So for me, there is the actual statement is getting out of bed is a heroic act. That statement is stronger than, because that is the statement saying why you're struggling to get out of bed from a Jungian perspective. That's not really a statement. Okay, so I have both. One is my overarching topic, and it's probably going to be close to the final title, Jungian perspective on why you're struggling to get out of bed. But the statement is getting out of bed is a heroic act. Then what is the next statement I have? The next statement I have is most people struggle getting out of bed even, excuse me, I'm taking a couple of steps back. Even when they have all the necessary information on how and why they need to get proper sleep and wake up early, most people still struggle to get out of bed. That's my next statement. Then the next statement is going to be, sometimes getting out of bed and facing life is too overwhelming. Then the next statement. The next statement is, famous psychologist Carl Jung noticed a psychological mechanism in us that forces us or influences us to avoid facing life. Then the next statement is, this psychological mechanism isn't only present in us wanting to stay in bed, it's also present in toxic relationships and in drug abuse. Then the next statement is, I have dealt with this. I have struggled with this unhealthy urge and mechanism that Jung identified. Then the next statement is, addressing how I get out of bed was, as silly as it sounds, one of the most important factors on my journey of winning this battle within me. Then the next statement is, this mechanism has always existed, but our generation or generations have been struggling with it way more than the past generations. Then the next statement is, we need to activate the hero archetype because we don't have the supporting structure that our ancestors had in fighting this internal battle. Okay, these were multiple statements. This is the structure, not necessarily the structure, because structure maybe implies something more detailed. This is the backbone of my essay. So I just gave you all of these statements. Well, guess how I'm writing. I have all of these statements, and then I'm expanding on them. And you have an essay. You have a Substack piece, or you have a YouTube script. Although I will be honest and transparent. I don't want to act like a fake guru. I am still new to doing fully scripted videos on YouTube. But I can say, this is how you get a Substack piece that is read by tens of thousands of people. This is how you develop an idea that then you take and present it in short form and is read by millions of people. You should create this backbone. You should write out these statements before the official writing session starts. So what is the story that you're trying to tell? Make those statements. Here is an idea that I have. Here is how this idea came to me. Or here is where I was in my life when this idea came to me, or when I learned this lesson. This is the struggle that I have faced. This is the mistake that I have made. This is how I overcame it. This is my observation about this phenomenon. This is the message that I have for you. And then just go back. The writing session starts where you go back to these statements and expand each one. That doesn't mean you have to keep those statements there in their original form. None of the statements that I shared with you will sound the same in the essay. When I say expand, that means you will maybe change that statement itself. Maybe you will remove it and replace it with another one that means the same but is completely different. Maybe every word needs to be changed, but the statement serves as a sign of what needs to be talked about in this part of the essay. What does it mean to expand it? Well, for some parts, it's going to be expanded into 2 or 3 sentences. In other parts, it's going to be expanded into another 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs. So it's all highly contextual, depending on what you're writing about. And within the essay, what part of the essay it is. So that's the overall idea. Do the preparation before you sit down to write. Because, okay, let me kind of make a comparison. Imagine I sit down and I just have a title. Jungian perspective on why you're struggling to get out of bed. And why getting out of bed is a heroic act. So I have the original idea and I have all of this knowledge. I know about Jungian idea of regression, of getting back to our source, drowning in our source, getting back into the womb. I know what James Hollis and Rollo May said about it. I know how it relates to hard or recreational drugs or hard drugs anyway. I know how it relates to toxic relationships, but it's all here. It's a mass of ideas related to this thing that I want to talk about. And I sit in front of my laptop. Okay, let's do it. Compare that situation, a blank page, a title, and a mass of ideas that you're not sure how to organize, versus sitting down to write, okay, I have 7 statements, 6 statements, and now it's my job to expand on them and to fill out the space between these statements. Okay, now this mass of ideas, okay, there is clear. Okay, Rollo and his idea of going back into the womb that relates to Jung's idea of regression and drowning in our own source. Okay, I want to mention that when I'm speaking about our psychological mechanism. Okay, there is part how I've struggled with this. I know where it goes. Here is the statement that I have struggled with it. I know how to expand. Hopefully this is making some sense. Just consider the difference between these two examples, where you sit down with a blank page and have no idea how to direct your writing versus having these statements that are basically your guidelines. I don't know if that's even the proper expression, guidelines or whatever. They give you an idea of what to say where. And yeah, I would love for you to try it, because once again, if this is about consistency, and if this video series is about me sharing how I stay consistent as a writer, and this is one of the major parts of it. I've been writing for 5 years, every single day for 5 years. Excuse me. And on Substack, writing long form weekly and on average multiple times per week for how many? 2.5 years. In those 2.5 years, over 300 Substack pieces. And on average, let's say on average from those 300 something, on average, the length is, let's say, some 700 words. So that's a decent amount of words written. And this is one of the major things that has helped me maintain my consistency, because it would be a major struggle if I have to sit down and every time have no idea what I'm doing. And I didn't even mention it because for me at this point it's kind of even out of the question, and it's ridiculous. But sitting down to write when you don't know what to write, that's, and I don't want to sound judgmental, but that's insane for me at this point. So to sit down literally in front of a blank screen and I don't even know what to write about, that's unacceptable. I'm not going to say that I never done it in the past, but now at this point I just, there is no way I would do it. There is no way I would do it. Absolutely no way. So just, okay, I want to write, but I don't know what I want to write. No, go for a walk. Go for a walk and think about what you want to write about. And then sit down. But just to pull something out of yourself in front of a completely blank screen, you're just sabotaging yourself. So first the idea has to be there. Then determine, is this an idea that is going to flow out of me? Is this an idea that I can just write about in a free-flowing manner, like I described before? Or is this idea that I have to structure, like I shared with these statements that I'm going to expand on? Make a distinction between the two. Decide what type of writing this piece deserves or demands, and then get to it. And then you can be consistent. I will also acknowledge another thing, because I'm creating the existential bootcamp. That's big part of this video series, that I'm documenting my journey of creating something new, something big, while having this chaotic life dynamic where I'm changing my physical location a bit too often and then dealing with some personal challenges. Well, when doing something of that magnitude, so you're not writing an essay, you're creating something bigger, I'm also looking at it. I talked about it in about this in multiple videos, that I'm really brainstorming about the structure, how I want to provide information. But one thing that I would say is I'm vomiting words onto paper, for a lack of better term, onto the screen. What I mean by that is the volume of writing is so high because I want to get every single thing out of me, and I will repeat myself multiple times, and I will make the same statements and explain the same ideas multiple times in different ways because I want to just pour everything out and then determine what works and what doesn't work. That can apply also to writing essays and articles, but when it comes to something bigger, in this case is this existential boot camp, where the idea is to really take people on the journey of getting unstuck and gaining existential momentum. That's a topic that's very close to me, and it's related to this Jungian dynamic of getting out of bed and reclaiming your life, defeating this lethargy and fear, defeating this sense that you cannot take your life head on. So that's a major part of what I'm creating and why I'm creating the existential bootcamp. So when creating something of that magnitude, then really you have to throw everything out, because you have more space, kind of literally and metaphorically, more space to spread out this information. So maybe in every writing session you should just allow yourself to let everything out, because anyway you're going to edit later. It's just that if you're engaging in a bigger project, if some of you have a project that you would like to engage in, maybe take it up a notch and give yourself the absolute ridiculous freedom to write every single thing that comes to your mind. And for 1 second, not think about editing while writing. I mean, that's one of the golden rules of writing in general. Don't edit while writing. It's just that from my experience, when engaging in a bigger project, I think it's even more important to just let yourself put every idea out there, and while writing phrase, you repeat yourself, allow yourself to repeat yourself. That's definitely something that I'm doing, and I'm doing it also in writing articles. But it's not the same when you're writing an article or essay that's going to be, okay, this one maybe is going to be 1,000 words, and then writing and preparing something that is going to consist of maybe 15, 16, 17 video lessons. It's a bit different. So yeah, that's it, friends. I know this is not necessarily, also the format of this video isn't such that it makes it a professional lesson on writing, but hopefully it's helpful to some extent. This method of preparing my writing before I sit down to officially write has been a massive part of my consistency, and if I can say my success, however you want to look at success, but knowing that over the last couple of years I've accumulated millions of views on my writing pieces. That's that's insane, even to say it out loud. Crazy. So yeah, this has been extremely helpful for me, and I would like you to try it out. I would love you to try it out because I know it can help you. When it comes to going more in depth regarding my writing process and also maybe describing how I approach the short form writing, I'm always up for doing it. I just need to know if there is interest for it. So let me know. Let me know if you're curious. Maybe that would be a bit differently structured and maybe the format. Maybe I should share my screen or something like that. But yeah, I don't consider myself an absolute expert when it comes to writing, but I have enough experience to share the mistakes that I've made and these methods like the one that I shared right now, methods that I'm using and have been using and that have been immensely helpful for me. That's it. Another thing is, if you're looking for a book on writing or a course on writing, I have a great one. It's called Sit Down and Start Writing. Sorry if it's a cheesy joke, but it's not a joke. Forget about educational resources. Forget about it. Sit down and start writing, and write. I don't know. Let's say 100 pieces of awful writing. I'm not saying that your writing is awful, but more likely than not, you're going to hate it. If you don't hate it, that's amazing. But I would be more enthusiastic about the person who hates their writing. You know, I'm going to be honest. I would have higher hopes long term for the person who hates their writing initially. So write 100 pieces. I'm not saying write 100 long form pieces, but have at least 100 sessions where you've written, let's say, 300 words. Okay, 100 sessions of 300 words. Is that okay? And let's be real, that's 300 words isn't a lot, but still, 100 sessions of 300 words, and then start thinking about, some more comprehensive educational resources. Because really writing, yes, there are things to be learned, and now what I shared, this framework, was something that I had to learn. So all of that is great, but please don't get trapped in the never-ending loop of learning about the thing rather than doing the thing. So yeah, keep showing up. I know not everyone listening to this was really looking to start writing, but as I said, I can hardly imagine a higher leverage skill that you can learn, a skill that will improve, that can improve literally every aspect of your life. Because it's not just about writing. You will be speaking. If you want to speak, you have to know how to write well. And if you want to share your ideas, pitch your ideas to someone, if you want to express yourself, if you want to stand up for yourself, a lot of that requires being able to articulate yourself and your thoughts and your emotions and your boundaries. So you cannot go wrong with learning how to write well. That's it, friends. That's it. Day 7, feeling good. We keep showing up. Thank you for spending time with me. As always, stay strong, love life, and never feel sorry for yourself.